Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Absolutely Women's Football Show. Now, it does look a bit quiet this evening. It is just me and Paul at the moment, but Rosie will be along with her fantastic notes. Don't you worry. She very specifically told us that she's putting some corn nuggets in the oven and she needs just a bit more time. So Rosie and her nuggets will be with us shortly. However, Paul, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. We were just saying there's so many matches on this evening. So if you weren't too sure, the Women's League Cup, sponsor yet unknown, has kicked off this evening. We've got some fantastic scorelines already, and we'll whiz through a few. There we go, got my teeth in. So currently we are Manchester United 2-0 up against Liverpool. Newcastle are 1-1 with Everton. Blackburn Rovers 1-0 against Durham, which is really, really good for them. West Ham smashing it 5-1 against Portsmouth. Vivacé's come on and I think got a hat-trick. So if anyone else is watching that closely, please do put it in the chat. Brighton are up 2-0 against Birmingham City. Leicester City are 1-0 up against Bristol. It's still 0-0 between Villa and Crystal Palace. I've got some hilarious videos of all the people who are at the match tonight, including Emma, who's usually in the chat. Her screaming is quite wonderful. So we'll be playing that momentarily for you all. And Charlton Athletic and Spurs are currently 1-1, which is fantastic as well. So yeah, if anyone's watching along, because I think it's only the Spurs match that's streaming, which, Paul, what do you reckon about that? Only one live match this evening.
Mean, it shows very clearly that nobody gives a shit about the Conti Cup. At least in terms of, in terms of not the people watching, but in terms of like media and exposure and all of that sort of thing. It's very much the third tier competition. Like,
yeah, it's almost like the group stages don't really mean much.
I mean, it's really hard to take it seriously when the stat that we keep quoting, that only 3 teams have ever won it. Those 3 teams are Man City, Arsenal and Chelsea. Those 3 teams are never actually in it during the group stages because they effectively get a bye. So they only have to play 3 games. As Sophie says, Sophie's quote is perfect. It's just the League Cup. That's the view of everybody. It's extra football. And everyone's gone to watch it because, football fans will always go and watch football.
Mm.
But do they really care? Like, do tonight, will Liverpool fans really care if the only time they lose to Man United this season is in the League Cup?
No.
Exactly. Man United fans will be giving it the whole hashtag Cup Clinton season, Chuggy, Riz, whatever the hell, Generation Z stuff. I still think that's bad, but no one else.
No, but it is. And even so, Villa women are back at Bescott tonight because the men, are playing something Europa League, Champions League. Apparently a big match somewhere. So they're at Villa Park. They've took the stadium. So the women are back at Bescott. Apparently they've only opened one corner, not even like half a stadium. It's just a corner, and
not even a stand. Just
doesn't look like it. It looks like behind the goal and like the first little bit of this stand.
See, the thing with that as well is how bad does that look on TV? Like how do you take a competition seriously when you watch it and there's less people than your average London City home game, and it's just like.
Well, here we go. And the best thing, which Rosie's like, let me in. It's like, I was waiting to give you a good introduction, Rosie. I was waiting for the moment to bring you in. Mrs. Corn Nugget herself, she's here.
I've got them here.
You got them? They're worth it? Good nuggets?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, worth it.
I did have some broccoli as well. Just FYI.
Awesome.
Is there a corn star joke there, or is that a bit? Yeah, that's probably a bit. Sorry.
It's not even 9 o'clock yet, Paul. What?
Corn? No, corn. It's food. You've heard that. I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not the one who dropped the C-bomb.
I didn't.
I'm not the one who is. I'm not the one who is famous and being recognised at WSL games for dropping the C-bomb on a podcast. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. If anyone missed that, Rosie has been recognised for dropping the K-bomb. And how does it feel, Rosie, to be recognised for that moment? Not anything else you've done in life, but for that particular moment.
I was a bit confused, but also honoured. Yeah.
Confused.
I'm going to be recognised for anything.
And this is the moment. No, I love it.
To be fair, that's the acceptance speech for our award-nominated. If we win it,
yes.
Just send Rosie up. Bit confused, but we're on it.
Yeah, Rosie with your notes. I've written. Oops.
I've got flashcards this time.
Flashcards.
I've upgraded.
They're still in the packet, though. Have you used them?
I've just got home. I've only just got in for it. I've barely had time to have my nuggets.
That was just a defeated. I've just got home.
Oh, you've been working hard. I do apologise. I was going to say I'll lay off you for a little bit, but nah, why not? I will say before I forget though, Durham's admin, whoever's doing that, every time they post something, it's chance in capital letters and then explain what the chance was. So they haven't scored, but they've had a chance, and they're telling everyone about their chances, which I think is the best description of it. This one, almost a second. So you didn't score.
That's the whole tweet, or is that the big capital?
Almost a second. Briggs us through and curls it into the side netting, I believe it says. So close. So yeah, still 1-1 in that Blackburn Durham game there. But because we were so caught up, I mean, Rosie's had enough already. She's off. But good evening to everyone.
I haven't even started the Gen Z slang yet.
I know she heard too much while she was waiting, and she was like, nope. Good evening to Johnny. Lovely to see you. Good evening to Mark, of course. Sophie, I'm glad you can make it. Good evening to Matthew as well. Good evening to Simon. And yeah, thank you so much for everyone joining us here. Rosie, I thought you'd stormed off. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just needed some salt. I can still hear you in my ears, by the way, so don't say anything.
Oh, technology. Right, okay. No, that's good. Good. Right, so what we're going to do while Rosie's banging her cutlery about is we're just going to have a recap. There we go, mute's fine. Of the latest news that's going on. So, like we just did a recap of at the beginning, the League Cup is in action tonight, and there's a further 2 matches on tomorrow night as well. So we'll keep you up to date with that as we go through. Most kicked off at 7 or 7:30, so many of them are a good way through their second half now. We also heard this week, but again, didn't get as much media attention as it probably should have. Alex Popp has retired from international duty after making her debut in 2010, which feels like yesterday for me and Paul. Rosie, just born, I think.
I was 5 years old. I wasn't just born.
You were 5. Oh, God.
Yeah.
I found my Year 11 Leavers hoodie when I went home for the weekend. Guess what year it's got on the back, Rosie? Guess what year I left Year 11? People in the chat, join in. What year did I leave Year 11?
I don't want to guess.
No, go on.
To be really insulting, go on. Dare you?
Then you can guess what. Then you can guess what year I left school, and we can have some real fun.
No, I don't like this game. I'm going to go back to my nuggets. I'm going to mute myself.
I'm going to go back to my nuggets.
People in the chat can guess. How old? What year did I leave school? There's one. See, there's one person because Mark I know, so Mark isn't allowed to guess because Mark actually knows. Because he's known me for many years. So.
See, if Chloe was in the chat, the clue would be it was the same year as her little sister was born. I left Year 11.
Matt's guessed 2011.
2011. That was a massive laugh. Wasn't it?
Chloe, that was Kerry. That was one of the
Thanks,
half.
Kerry, for that.
The two women in my life, the two guests on the podcast who appear. You know, the podcast cat, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for all the
Yes,
all the
she's
well
doing.
wishes. It was much appreciated. It was very scary because, and slight trigger warning if anyone's a bit worried about pets and stuff. Basically, about 3:30, we woke up, and she was scrabbling about, and then she didn't stop scrabbling about, and we realised she was having a seizure, and I thought she died, which was very scary.
Oh God, yeah.
But then she kind of woke up again, almost as confused as me during the quiz, and kind of padding around. And then she had another seizure on Saturday morning, so I missed the WSL, but we took her to the vet, and the vet gave her some anti-seizure medication, and she's here and will probably make her presence known.
Good. Well, we can't wait to see it. Yeah, because I saw that tweet and I was like, oh God, no, hope she's all right. But you know, thankfully, thank you for that update.
I love how Mark's annoyed he can't guess. Right.
He says, "Boo-hoo."
I mean, yeah, because he knows. So he has some. He can tell you the story of how I was once thrown out of an ice hockey game as the announcer. So I've been doing it. I've been doing it for many years.
I mean, that's impressive. Well done.
Yeah, the referee gave me a match penalty, which is the equivalent to being sent off in football. So,
what did you? Oh, wait, do we want to? No, we don't want to know the stories.
No, there was no swearing.
Okay.
Basically, what happened? The very, very short version is it's a lot easier to mock ice hockey referees as an announcer because obviously you're in a rink and you're announcing things like penalties when players go off and stuff like that. So I think this referee was really, really bad, like horrendously biased against the home team.
Yeah.
And I eventually lost my cool and said something like, I announced a penalty for the Coventry team and said something like penalty to number, I even remember a number, penalty to number 88, 2 minutes for, I can't remember what it was, slashing or something, and then paused for just a half second and then said, no, I don't understand it either, over the microphone. And the next thing I realised, the referee's come flying over and he's looking up at the announcer's box and talking to the teams on the bench who are kind of looking up and going, ball, and I'm like, you what? It's like, he's throwing you out. So I got to do the amazing thing where they announced the penalties and I'm like, so penalty called on me. I've been thrown out. See ya. Dunk, dropped the mic and walked off.
I love it. I think you've been done in a bit, Paulie.
I have been done in a bit. This is what happens when your partner works as an investigator for a living and knows every single loophole.
Oh, that's phenomenal. Yeah.
That is an amazing question from Matt, by the way. Which women's football pundit, if you could, would you give the same treatment and just go, right, no, like just throw out?
Oh, that'd be a good one. What would yours be, Matthew? Go on. In fact, everyone in the chat, which pundit would you get rid? Paul, I know you've got about 5. Is there one that particularly you'd want to get rid of first?
What pundit as opposed to commentator?
Ooh.
Because commentator-wise, and again, this is video-wise.
Yeah, I think I've got more commentator-wise rather than pundit-wise.
No, commentator-wise, there was amazing. I don't know whether you watched. I think it was the Villa game at the weekend. No, it was Chelsea. It was Chelsea Palace. Rosie, you were obviously at the game, so you wouldn't have seen this. But basically, on possibly the World feed rather than the Sky feed, Jonathan Pearce was commentating.
Oh, right, okay.
And amazingly, the camera at Palace and the microphone was running, and he's there going, we're about ready to start here at Selhurst Park, and in the background there's just some rude words coming up. There's
I heard this. Yeah, that was on Sky as well.
Was it on Sky as well?
Yeah.
And it picked it up. And I just shared this with my friends because I can't share it. I don't want to share it on Twitter in case, trying to be professional. I was just like, when you find out Jonathan Pearce is commentating, it's just like, fuck off. And it's just like...
Yeah, because there was dead silence on the feed, and then you just heard, is it Caroline Barker who does Sky Sports? And she just went, I am so sorry for any inappropriate language that you may have just heard just there. We will be taking a short break.
I love, by the way, how everybody is saying Rachel Brown-Finnis.
I mean, yeah. The thing is, if you just listen to her on like an interview or like the way she speaks, it's so good. But as soon as she's anywhere near a match, it just all, trying to be professional, all unbiased kind of goes out the window. And it just, it's a bit...
I mean, you're being super polite. She's just shit. Like...
Stay with you, Phil. Rosie, is there anyone that annoys you? Commentator or pundit-wise? Rachel Brown-Finnis as well.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Last week when I said I was going to scrap her.
Probably, yeah.
You might have been muted because you were corn nuggets or something. Like, you might have... But also, slightly controversially, Robin Cowan. No, Vicky Sparks more than Robin Cowan, but possibly both of them.
Oh, okay. Mm.
Because while she is really, really good at her job, Robin Cowan, and she is, and so is Vicky Sparks, they are very obviously corporate commentators in the sense that they never challenge. They'll never challenge Rachel Brown-Finnis's bias. They'll never.
Yeah, they won't call it out.
They won't call it out and go, well, actually, Rachel, do you think that this is the case? They'll just kind of, the pundits get gospel.
Yeah, I'm with Matthew here. Gilly Flaherty. It's a lot about when I was a player. Well, when I was a defender, like it's very much like obviously once or twice you were in that role, you can understand it, you can this that, but it feels like all of the commentary is just yes, back in my day when with that.
I mean the trouble with Gilly Flaherty is that she's kind of insulated from criticism by a lot of people because obviously with her story and everything.
Yeah.
And she's got a lot of stick from people just because she has a very, very strong London accent. And
I can see that, yeah.
You get a lot of people who are very, anytime there's any regional accents, people seem to get really annoyed for no discernible reason. And Alan Shearer gets stick, and he doesn't even really have that strong. His accent is really modulated. Oh
yeah, it's much better than it was. Yeah, absolutely. We will say on the flip side though, Izzy Christensen should just should be on every show, like being a pundit, being a commentator, being everything. She's just so phenomenal. But it's just the way she explains it as well. She doesn't just throw out the buzzwords that sound good. It's the way she comes across and really cares about it.
And she doesn't have to tell everybody when I was playing. You learned this happened. It just kind of comes out. she was playing. Even if you didn't know she was a player, just the way she speaks, she's got that kind of calm authority about her. I did think actually Laura Georges was amazing in the World Cup punditry.
Yes.
Especially if she was doing it in a second language as well. And just
that's phenomenal. Sophie, I wondered how long that would take. Farrah Williams. Yeah.
Is that a deliberate typo? Is that how she says it? Farrah Williams.
As a Chelsea fan, I agree with that bias. Not that I agree. I agree that there is bias, and it's bad. No,
there should be bias. I guess. Everyone should.
I personally don't like Farrah Williams commentating or punditry because she's so biased. That's annoying.
Yeah, it's when there's no attempt to hide it, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're just like,
Rachel
okay.
Brown Finnis.
I have the decency to hide my biases.
Do you?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Sometimes. When you remember.
Well, having signed again for Chelsea this week, obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just can't get enough of this. You know.
People fell for it again.
Yeah.
Did they actually?
That's funny. They did. I got quite a few.
Wow. I mean, hey, it's impressive that you can. That you can flute them. I love how this conversation all came about as I introduced it. Alex Pop has retired from international duty. That's the second point on my notes.
Actually, yes. We'll Alex Pop retiring. Firstly, it's really annoying because Snap and Crackle are gutted. But also,
wow,
that's a joke Rosie might not even remember. That's
I remember.
You know Snap, Crackle and Pop. Good. But
yeah, there seems to be like no media coverage at all. Had to go searching for it, but this is what I didn't get. So this is from BBC. She's got 144 appearances. She'll retire on her 145th cap for the country when Germany are due to play Australia 3 days after playing England at Wembley.
Are they Australia, not Austria? Because I saw it as Austria.
Australia. Is that my autocorrect doing us dirty? Where's Emma? Where's Emma when we need her for the autocorrect? I mean, I read it as Australia. So they're playing someone 3 days. Someone in the chat, quick. This is a serious football podcast, by the way. Anyone new to the show? So they're playing England at Wembley.
It's Australia.
Aha! Australia.
That felt like a race. Who got there first?
Well done. Number 1. Gold star for you. Thank you very much. So they are playing Australia. So that maths then doesn't work because that would be 146 caps, but never mind. But on a different note, she said, which is actually quite heartbreaking, the fire that ignited in me 18 years ago and grew stronger from year to year has now almost burnt out. Before the fire is completely extinguished, because then it will be too late. The right time has now come. How sad's that?
That's someone who's. There's a story there about the way, because there was all sorts of talk of like Martina Voss Tecklenburg and all that.
Kirsty Hansen scored. Sorry.
Kirsty Hansen scored?
Yes.
That was the least convincing celebration I've ever seen.
Because I still don't believe it. You know, when you're just like, have they not? Is it probably going to be ruled offside? Is it going to be?
No VAR in the women's game. You're all right.
Wait, that's true. 80th minute, Kirsty Hansen. And Frank Kirby scored for Brighton as well. But lots of other games are ending. So they are playing Crystal Palace. So the fact that it's got to 80 minutes and no one had scored was getting a bit worrying, to be honest. But that's a completely different kettle of fish. But yeah, I think after Germany have performed last couple of tournaments, something's not right, is it, in that German camp? So hopefully, if she retires gracefully at the top of her game, then I think, yeah, it's probably the right time, isn't it, for Alex?
Yeah.
That would be a really bad joke.
She can pop off.
She can pop off, yeah. I was like, it's not the right tone. And then I remembered where I was. So yes. Yes, it is.
We are award nominated for our tone. That's what it is.
We are indeed. So if you're watching and you haven't voted for us in Best in Women's Football, make sure you do so for the this year's FCAs. Would absolutely love it because we're up against some massive names as well. So just to be there, as cliche as it sounds, but honestly, it does mean a lot. So since we are nominated, should we talk about some football finally?
Yes, let's. I was going to go about pundits again. Pundits again, but we can do that at the end.
We could definitely do that at the end. I'll tell you what, before we go into this, let's just do a quick recap because some games have finished, like I said. So league games tonight then. United Liverpool did end 2-0 to United. Newcastle Everton is still 1-1. They're in the 94th minute, so unless something happens very soon, that's going to end in a draw. Durham have come back to win 2-1 against Blackburn Rovers. That's full time. West Ham are 6-1 up against Portsmouth. That's in the 97th minute. Brighton have won 3-0 against Birmingham. Leicester Bristol ended 1-1. Villa are currently 1-0 up, as we've just said, against Crystal Palace. And Charlton Spurs is still 1-1 in the 78th minute for that one. Bristol and Newcastle, sorry. Remember the draws go to pens, don't they, in the League Cup? So I'll keep you up to date on those penalties as they're coming. So we'll start with the WSL. Now, Rosie, we'll come to you first for this one because you were here at the Chelsea match. It seems like Chelsea took all of the goals and no one else was allowed to score any over the weekend. So how was it for you? Talk to us about the match, because 7-0, but Crystal Palace weren't that bad. They had some quite decent passages of play. So if you will, please take us through this one.
Yeah, well, in the first half, I didn't think it was going to be a big scoreline. I thought, maybe we can get this by 1 or 2-0, because we just didn't look like... I mean, Crystal Palace were pressing quite high, and then I don't want to mention names, but I am going to. Lucy Bronze was also playing quite high, so you had Palace's high press. You had Palace's high press against Lucy Bronze. Wasn't really going very well. Millie Bright was also dragged out of position quite a few times, and you just think this defensively is not good. And Palace definitely had a few moments where you thought they should have scored that. Even Hannah Hampton had a little slip up. Just defensively, it wasn't looking good. And then at half time, I don't know what Sonia said to them, but it worked. And we scored 7. So, I think we scored 1 in the first half. But it was just something changed in that team. And I think it was, attacking, they made some substitutions, brought Myra Ramirez on. And Erin Cuthbert came off, so did Joanna Wrighton-Cannerud. Both in my fantasy team, I was quite annoyed.
I was going to say people did, yeah.
Yeah, they came off early, which at the time I thought was odd, but then it kind of actually really made a difference there. So maybe it was the right decision. Erin Cuthbert hasn't been looking like her usual self.
I was going to say, would you carry a knock that she's never really recovered from? Was that it possibly a while ago?
I'm not sure, but she just really didn't look like herself. And then, definitely that happened. Because Palace started really well, but they also started quite intensely. And I knew they weren't going to be able to keep it up because they were playing well, but they were playing high and fast. So that kind of led to their downfall in the end.
Yeah, it's sustaining it, isn't it? When you're not used to that intensity for that long period of time. Yeah,
exactly.
And I wanted to ask, because I know this question's been bandied about, and again, people in the chat, what do you think as well? With a game like that, and Chelsea have got, I think, 6 out of 6 weeks on telly, like all the screen picks. A game like that against Crystal Palace, is it helping teams like Palace, or should it not matter and it should just be like it's a game? Because a 7-0 slaughtering, if you're maybe new to the game or you're not too sure, is it the best picture for the game as a competitive game? I don't know. What do you think? Because I saw loads of people questioning it, but if it was the right thing to do. But yeah, how do you feel about that?
I know Paul has an opinion on this.
Welcome to him, don't worry.
I think, maybe it wasn't the best pick. Obviously, because Chelsea's a big team, people are likely to watch it. And that's why it was picked, because it's Chelsea. It doesn't really matter who Chelsea are playing. They're often going to be picked for TV because people watch them.
From a business point of view, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
From a business point of view, it makes sense to put that on TV. From a football point of view, it's maybe put a different game on, maybe one of the ones with a tighter scoreline. Obviously, they all have quite tight scorelines this weekend. But
yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
It's hard, isn't it? Paul, if you've got rid of your noodles,
Miso soup and chicken. It's gorgeous.
oh, very nice. Yeah, Paul, what do you think about that one?
I think that there needs to be a bit more thought in the scheduling, because I can fully see Rose's point, and I think that's exactly why the game was picked, because it's Chelsea and it's a guaranteed viewership, basically. But I think, like Sophie says, that's my main issue with it. Any scheduler can look at this and think, this at least has a chance of not being a competitive game, because you've got Chelsea with all of their resources coming up against Palace, who, with all due respect to them, it's only their second ever WSL game. The vast majority of them are championship level players. They're probably going to get tanked. I don't think anybody would expect 7-0, but I think people expected 2 or 3-0. And you're kind of looking, going, how is that interesting when you've got some of the other games that weekend? Why is the one you pick the one of a team that's going to get absolutely tanked? And like Sophie says, imagine if you're a neutral watching that. Your first exposure to women's football is Chelsea absolutely tanking someone in the supposed top league one of the top leagues in the world, and absolutely outclassing them after 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you look at it and go, they haven't even got the excuse of, it's a lower league team, like you have in the FA Cup where they show the games and they've got the romance of it. This is a league fixture, and it's like, you don't need to show Chelsea every week. You can show other teams who aren't Chelsea, and people will still watch. Who is it benefiting to show games like that? It's benefiting Chelsea, obviously, because Chelsea will get a few more people who will watch it, a few more quid in the TV pot. Palace people will watch it and go, oh, we get to see Palace. Oh, we're not going to watch them again. They got thumped 7-0. They're not at the level of this league. If you're a Palace fan, the women's team are on telly. I'm curious. And you see them get tanked 7-0. You're going to go, well, sod that. I'm not paying 10 quid to go down to.
Yeah. Well, they're rubbish. We're not going back there again. Yeah. And the thing with the 7-0 scoreline as well, it's not taking anything away from Chelsea, and it's not taking anything away from the way Palace played, because if you watched it, like we said there, Palace had chances. Palace played really well. They just couldn't convert. They just couldn't find the back of the net. But if you are someone who's coming into the game bit fair weather, not really too fussed, you're not in, you're not out, you don't really follow anyone, you're going to see that and be like, they're rubbish. Like, and it's that bias, isn't it?
It's a psychological thing. When you see a score like 7-0, you go, that's that isn't a loss. 3 or 4-0, you go, bad day at the office. 7-0, you go, Jesus, that's a hammering. You do not expect teams in the same division to lose to that level. How often does it happen in the Premier League? Once a season you get that kind of score? Maybe?
Yeah, not often. Yeah.
If that.
And it just shows the difference, doesn't it, between the top and the bottom end of the league, and what we're all saying. There needs to be more investment at club level. There needs to be, so much more. So there is more parity.
And it's really, really hard, because it sounds like, whenever you say this, you will get the responses from the team who win 6 or 7-0, who think they're being criticised, and they're sat there just saying stuff like, oh, so we're being punished for being successful now. No, you're not. But
it's not there at all, no.
It doesn't need to just be you being punished for being shown being successful all the time.
It needs a good mix. You'd rather you'd have that competitive excitement. Like, you'd rather that. Like with Chelsea Villa on that opening night, the fact that there wasn't much in it was brilliant. And you're looking at the goals thinking, oh, that must have been a fantastic game. But you know, some of the best games are 1-0, aren't they? Or 2-1. There's not much in it. Now, my reactions during that, these penalty shootouts are awful. Newcastle have missed all 3 of theirs.
Good.
Courtney Brosnan. I mean, we know Courtney Brosnan's incredible. But yeah, she saved all 3. Then we've got Leicester have missed theirs as well. 6 minutes added on. Spurs have scored against Charlton, so it's 2-1. Sorry, Graham, if you're in the chat this evening. Looks like Katie Robinson's just scored for Villa as well. Woohoo! 2-0 there. Yeah, Leicester have missed 3 pens. So have Bristol as well. Oh god. Yeah, pens are not going well for those matches this evening. So yeah, currently 2-0 with Villa. And Bristol have won their penalty shootout against Leicester. So it's done. It's done. Leicester 4 missed/saved. And Bristol got 2 wins, so they've got the points. Oh, it's all happening. This is what happens when you get like 8 games at once. You're trying to keep up with them. So the only 2 still going then are Villa and Charlton, both into extra time. So it looks like points are going to Villa and Spurs, but we won't jinx it just yet. Now, let's have a look. So yeah, so that was Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 7 that we were originally talking about. Now, the next one, I think, Rosie, was meant to be you as well. So let's go to the next one. So mix it up a bit. Paul, will come to you next. Because the wind played a part in this one, didn't it? It was Everton 0, Man United 1. So Skinner doing Skinner things with this one. The wind played a part. So yeah, talk us through this one, please, Paul.
Okay, I'm just taking a breath then, because
everyone's got hammers.
The man full of wind blaming the wind is. You know, there's a lovely symmetry to it, isn't there? Like
there is. Yeah.
I mean, this is the same person who said we don't make excuses at Man United. Like,
yes,
he does, because he's a twonk. But it's just like it's impressive in a way. How can you be that bad at your? The only other person who's bad at this job runs the bloody country. Like, how does he get to that level? Rosie's raised. We got a Rosie reaction then.
The place where football and politics go hand in hand with a Paul Rance.
It's concerning, you know. And again, I just want to sit back and go, I told you so, Manchester United fans. I absolutely told you. And there, my little side, I need to think of a name for the sidebar thing that I keep putting in. But the weird...
Oh, that's phenomenal, Matthew.
Oh, that is, yes.
You won the night. Blame it on the weatherman. Yes, absolutely.
He's just... I'm trying to think of the lyrics now. My brain is desperately trying to pull the lyrics for Blame It on the Weatherman. If you're talking songs, though, the one that I was saying, the Sparks classic, now covered by The Last Dinner Party, which Mark Skinner will be having eventually in the director's box.
Very good.
This town ain't big enough for the both of us. Grace Clinton and Ella Toone cannot play in the same team. And this game proved it.
Because Clinton got the first goal. Well, the goal. With a bit of a mix at the back, didn't she? So what is it, Paul, about the two of them that just isn't working for United?
I mean, firstly, yes, Man United have won two games, but they've won against relegation candidates West Ham and an Everton squad who, at this point, are basically the Liverpool Royal Infirmary 11 because they're because you know.
But they are.
You know, they lost in Magabaro as well. She's only just joined them, and they lost to those dreaded 3 letters after 11 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
she's the focal point of their attack. So
the second ACL for Everton in 2 weeks, remember, as well.
Yeah, after using Aurora Galley as well.
Yeah.
Who again is, the linchpin of their midfield. It's the kind of thing that just no football team should have to suffer. No. They're absolutely shell shocked. They've hit rock bottom and they're starting to dig. And Man United still only beaten 1-0.
Everton played well though, didn't they? Considering everything,
they did
some opportunities.
And again, if against a team that wasn't Everton, or indeed a fully fit Everton, the problem that we're talking about would have been exposed massively. So, working our way back round to your question, the reason Ella Toone and Grace Clinton cannot play together for Manchester United is because they both play exactly the same position. And Ella Toone is incapable of playing out wide. Not because she's a bad player or because she can't learn it, but because her instinct is a number 10. And it's what makes her such a great player in general. That is her natural position. So when she's playing on the left, she will drift inside. And all of a sudden, Manchester United have Liz Turland, Ella Toone, and Grace Clinton all in that same little half space, just because Liz Turland isn't a spearhead, really. She, the way Mark Skinner plays, because apparently taking a number 9 poacher as a goal scorer and actually playing them as a number 9 poacher stroke goal scorer is far too complicated. Or, the kind of thing that only idiots do and not high football minds like Mark Skinner. But it basically means they're all in that clogged position. And Lisa Nelson loves to step up into that position as well. So you've got 5 players playing number 10. And, there's no team should have that. It clogs up the middle. There's no space for anybody to play. They're playing Leah Galton at left back, which again is another horrifically stupid decision. So she loves playing high. And the amount of space behind them. Any team with a right winger, we talk about Lucy Bronze and we talk about how Chelsea are vulnerable to teams with positive wingers. Manchester United are basically opening the gate and inviting the hordes in, saying, "Come on."
Because Cassie Snoyce nearly got the best of Millie Turner, didn't she? Went through because there was no one else. There was no one else there.
And I keep looking at that and thinking, imagine Mariana Caldente looking at that. Imagine Beth Mead looking at that. Imagine Hayley Rasso looking at that. Imagine Guro Reiten looking at that and going, "We've got the freedom of the pitch." But there's no Manchester United playing the same postcode. And yet Manchester United fans are still sat there going, "Yes, it's still going to work. It's going to work." No, it's not. Sorry, United fans. No, it isn't.
But they're going to say, aren't they? But they won. And they got the 3 points.
Yes, against an Everton team that lost its spearhead to an ACL, didn't have its starting central midfielder. Brian Sorensen was practically, the Everton changing room must look like a scene from MASH at the moment. You just kind of walk in there and there's just bodies everywhere after the game. Just kind of.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And like talking to our lovely Chloe Bear, who we haven't seen for a while, she just every time something happens, she's like, "No, not again. Why Everton?" Because they were injury stricken last season, weren't they? And we all know they haven't got the biggest budget in the world, if any. So the fact that they're gonna, in this January transfer window, they're going to have to try and do something to try and boost them, because as Matthew rightly said, could this, very early in the season, but if this keeps going and they haven't got the reserves, could it then be a relegation battle? And I don't want to say yes, but it's looking don't want to say looking likely, but it's looking like it's a possibility. Just with the state of the team. I mean, Villa survived, and the beginning of last season was dire. So we won't make any harsh judgments yet. But yeah, I just hope it gets better for them, because I don't want to say it can't get worse, just in case I jinx it. But yeah, it's not going well for them, is it? Now, Simon, anyone new to the podcast think Paul doesn't like Mark Skinner? Don't know what you're on about, Simon. It's perfectly positive here. Lots of love, of course.
I just look at him and think, people say, "Oh, we won," or Man United fans going, "Oh, we won. It's a good idea. It must be working." Early on in the season, people thought invading Russia was a good idea.
I'd look at that.
Until in autumn, everybody thought invading Russia was a good idea. Then the winter hit, and that's what's going to happen for Man United when they get into the season, and when they come up against teams who can exploit it.
Are we say winter is coming? Is that what we're saying for Man United?
There's going to be a red wedding in the boardroom at some point.
Well, they are the Red Devils, aren't they? So many links, all of those. Oh God, that could be a different podcast in itself, couldn't it?
Game of Thrones. Mark Skinner's voice.
The games of wind and the number 10. I don't know. We'll make a better one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to watch, because again, it's still very early on in the season, and yeah,
games of blather and bullshit. There you go. Mark Skinner.
Available now from Waterstones. The memoirs of Mark Skinner.
To be honest, though, he's in a position where George Martin will probably have finished the last book before Mark Skinner gets sacked.
That's true. We'll still be here in a couple of decades on the pod talking about how it didn't work. Right, I suppose it's my turn to talk about some football then. So I'm going to take Leicester 0, Arsenal 1. To be honest, I don't know what I expected from this one, because Arsenal haven't really, I don't know, there's just something not right about Arsenal, is there? There's a bit like United in the sense of they don't really seem to have their formation right. They don't really seem to know what's going on. And I thought from the way Leicester played, actually, that they should have got a point from that, to be honest. They were really, really unlucky that they didn't. I mean, Von Domselaar and Kopp both made some cracking saves and keep the scoreline down to just the 1. And debut for, I want to say Chosanote, for Leicester as well. Instant impact she had, and it was her debut as well. Forcing, again, Van Domselaar into another big save. I will say, though, I'd prefer Caldente and Kafaji to be starting, in my opinion, because just the way they change the game when they come on. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, just that change of energy. And it feels more like the way Arsenal should be when they're on. Because as soon as Kafaji came on, down that right-hand side, she was straight in, such a force, and you just think something else is missing for that, for the rest of it not to come off. Like, it shouldn't just be a 1-0. Oh, there she is. Hi, Nancy.
Yeah. I'm gonna. She's gonna go quiet, but don't worry, she's still yelling. It's because I'm eating, and nobody needs to hear that.
And she wants to, yeah. Now I was looking at the stats, because I was like, right, what actually was in it? Now Leicester had 9 shots compared to Arsenal's 10, so not much in that at all. Leicester had 3 on target compared to Arsenal's 4. So shots wise, it was so close. But again, there's similar questions for Arsenal of they had double the possession, double the passes. I think they had 12 or 13 corners. And you just think a squad like that, and we've talked about it before, should be making so much more about from those set pieces. And there needs to be a conversation of, again, like United, who fits best in this squad? Who's our best starting 11? Because it just, something's not quite fitting, something's not quite working. And the single goal did annoyingly come from a gap at the back for Leicester. and Leon Hudson-Mornham slotted it home for the 1-0. But apart from that, it was very end-to-end, hardly anything in it. And I think Leicester should feel a bit hard done by that one. But yeah, it didn't feel right. What do you two think about Arsenal at the minute? They don't look completely like they should, do they? Something's not
You
on.
can't ask me what I think about Arsenal because you won't get an unbiased answer.
Well, apparently you won't get an unbiased answer from me, according to Arsenal fans. #agenda, apparently. But yeah, I think the biggest thing about it was that Arsenal journalists, like for example Tim Stillman, were openly saying, basically, this is crap. This is painful. This is awful. I think he actually said, this is painful.
Mm.
And he is usually a fairly unbiased journalist. He does tend to go slightly homery. I have had a few discussions with him about Arsenal having a starting goalie, because apparently they didn't last year. But I mean, if you want to know what I think of Arsenal, to be honest, then just do the Arsenal song about Spurs in reverse. But
I was thinking that.
Wow, guys.
I can't say that word.
Which, by the way, is one of the greatest YouTube videos ever. Hello, Nancy. And one of the greatest YouTube videos ever was a random bit. It's KSI, who is an Arsenal fan. See, I'm down with the kids. I know the YouTubers. Yes, Nancy. But basically, he's in Melbourne along with Logan Paul because when they had their boxing match or something.
Mm.
And Logan Paul is trying to make himself relatable, like the internet cyborg that he is, and mentions supporting Tottenham. And just within seconds, KSI in Melbourne on the other side of the world just goes, "Oh, he's a Spurs fan," goes to the crowd, "What do we think of Tottenham?" and gets the shout back in Melbourne. And by the way, my absolute favourite thing, that's the most polite football chant I've ever heard, even though it's offensive. Because just the way it goes, what do we think of Tottenham? Rude word. What do we think of rude word? Do you know what? It's after 9 o'clock now. What do we think of Tottenham? Shit. What do we think of shit? Tottenham. Thank you. That's all right.
Got manners. Got manners at the football.
Can you imagine if that got sung at a women's game, though?
That'd be so funny.
It has been sung in the crowd. I think I was in the queue for the train at a Lionesses game, and someone was singing it randomly. I didn't join in because I don't use that sort of language.
Not in public anyway, when you get recognised now.
You just tell everybody what county you think Arsenal's in.
Yeah, in fact, Rosie, what do you think of Arsenal? Where do London City play? But yeah, Arsenal just
They are what they think Tottenham are, and they're gonna get found out. Like genuinely, I think Jonas Eideveld is probably going to win the League Cup again and get another 3-year contract.
Probably.
I mean, they qualified. They qualified for the Champions League, which is hilarious because they're going to get absolutely tanked in that group. Like they've got the absolute group of death.
Were the groups released? They weren't released, were they? Last time we did them. I've got them. I made a thing. Yeah, there's let's have a look. I'm getting it. Yeah.
They were released.
Arsenal are in a group with Bayern, Juventus, and
sorry, I'm just.
We heard that,
are you watching Jonathan Pearce again? Yes, she's watching the Jonathan Pearce clip.
Oh well, there we go.
Just when you find out Jonathan Pearce is commentating, or what does Rosie think of Arsenal?
And Vålerenga, that's the fourth one. Yeah, so Bayern Munich, Juventus, and Vålerenga, the Norwegian team as well. So yeah, it's going to be. I mean, none of those groups are easy at all. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be a fight to the death in that group there. Right then, so let's go back to Rosie. We'll go back to you for Man City 1, Brighton 0. The fact that Man City were kept to just the one goal was quite impressive. So yeah, Rosie, talk us through this one.
Yeah, so it's only 1-0, but I mean, Brighton is such a threat this season. You just think with that transfer window, you thought, right, okay, they've got a few new signings, but are they going to be any good? Yeah. That's the answer, yeah.
That was a bullet point. Yes. Tick.
Yes. My first bullet point is actually Jill Roord with a bunch of exclamation marks.
Jill Roord, how was she back?
I don't know what City are putting in their water, but I think it was on the dot 9 months from her ACL injury and she's back.
It's 115 additives. There you go. There was that one took a second, but yeah, it is amazing. Sorry, the reason I'm laughing, by the way, is because you may be able to hear Kerry in the background, who is watching that Jonathan Pearce clip over and over again, and just
what she's doing. I was going to say we can hear her. It's like what is that? Right? Okay, I'm with you now.
Or also the men's football one of Bournemouth fans cheering a train being cancelled, which was one of the most.
Yes,
that was good.
Which was also amazing. So there you go. So now you know if I'm shaking with laughter, then it's not anything Rose is saying, unless she makes a joke, and then it is.
Yeah, I'm always making jokes, which you're legally obligated to laugh at.
Did you see her face change then? Did you hear the tone change? Oh, I'm always making jokes, which you're legally obligated to laugh at.
It's in the contract.
Like V for Vendetta in here.
I'm scared now.
Okay, I've got some stats for you guys.
Yes, we love a stat. Come on.
So the game was quite close. However, City had 21 shots. 21, and one went in, by the way.
That's horrendous. Yeah.
And Brighton had 6. So although it was close, Brighton weren't really attacking as much, and they did have less possession, but they managed to keep it at 1-0. Can I also say, why do Brighton insist in playing out from the back? It doesn't work.
Yeah, that nearly tripped them up a few times, didn't it?
Because every time they did it, I just thought, why? Because either it was City just pressing really high and pressing a lot, or Brighton just their defence being a bit silly. Probably a bit of both, but I kept shouting to stop passing out from the back because I mean, as a coach of an under-9s team, if my players kept losing the ball, trying to pass out from the back, I would tell them to stop doing that. That's just me.
Rose is an old school coach.
Yeah.
Rose is stood there with a load of 8-year-olds going, put it in the mixer! Put it to the big lad up front!
I don't care if you're 9.
I don't care if you know you don't get it on the ground and play. None of that fancy European stuff.
But the old school, I mean, the first thing you learn about being a football coach is if something's not working, you change it, right?
Unless you're Mark Skinner.
So, unless you're Mark Skinner or apparently Brighton manager. Anyway, that's just a little side note about Brighton's defence. But
they'll appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, so City had quite a few chances. Bonnie Shaw missed the net a few times, which annoyed me because she's also my fantasy team. But she did manage to score their one goal. And then, yeah, you also just thought Brighton could have scored a few times. Brian Kirby had quite a long-range effort. That didn't go in, obviously. Otherwise it would have been 1-1. But anyway.
Thank you for that.
Obviously it didn't go in, or it would have been 1-1. Is that the women's football?
It didn't go in.
Is that the women's football podcast version of Kieran's the game was decided by a goal.
Yeah.
Sam, clip that. 9:31.
We're an hour in,
and a
guys.
minute
We're an
in.
hour in.
An hour in. Rosie
Anyway,
said
that's my flashcard.
they had a shot. It didn't go in. Otherwise, it would have been 1-1. Tactics with Rosie.
Well, I just felt like I had to say it didn't go
21
in.
shots. They didn't go in, or it would have been 21-0. Oh, that was brilliant. I love that.
Award nominated.
Hey, vote for us
Sorry, I
now.
thought my bullet points were quite good.
Still better punditry than Rachel Brown Finnis. There you go.
Oh, I love it. I do.
Jenny Fladd is watching this, taking notes. Like,
in fact, next weekend we'll see the difference with that one. Right, we've got 2 more to go. So, Paul, we'll come back to you. West Ham 1, Liverpool 1. If I was Liverpool, I would be fuming that they didn't get all 3 points at the weekend, and I'm sure Matt Beard would be as well. But yeah, how did you feel about this one? Because Ueki kind of came from nowhere to be the savior.
she has a habit of doing that.
She does, doesn't she?
And also, Olivia Smith's first goal for Liverpool, by the way, was a belter.
Congratulations to her.
We love a Cruyff turn.
We do.
And it was, we need Danny as an official arbitrator of things that happen and turns to say whether it was actually a Cruyff turn or just something that looked a bit like a Cruyff turn.
Yeah.
But it was definite a kind of flick the ball behind her onto her other foot to send the defender the wrong way and then curl the ball beautifully into the corner. And at that point, you think, okay, Liverpool are going to go on and get a few more here. And they just didn't.
Yeah.
17 shots to 8. They outshot 2-1 West Ham away from home. They had 57% possession to 43%. And just Matt Beard is going to look at that and go, we should have got 3 or 4.
Yeah. What happened there? Yeah.
How they should have been absolutely out of sight. And Rico Ueki's goal should have been no more than a consolation. But she is
no.
Fantasy gold mine, Rico Ueki. You know, if you need a cheap player who'll get you a few points, and Rico Ueki's always a good one. She's far too good for West Ham. Like,
yes, who should pick her up?
She needs to be. She's maybe not quite the level of a Chelsea or a Man City, but definitely someone like a Spurs. Just another or Liverpool, ironically.
Just that next bit up, yeah.
Just to give that next bit of a nudge, because that's the thing that worried me about Liverpool. I believe their top scorer last season was Sophie Roman Howard, and she got 7. And you mentioned this in your press conference with Matt Beard. You asked. Yeah. Mary Hobbinger, what a player!
What a player
she is. Last year, the most goals from open play for a midfielder. And before anyone in the chat says Lauren Hemp is a forward. She's a wide forward, but she's a forward. These are the thing now in 4-3-3s. You know, wingers are effectively forwards. I remember having that argument with Man City fans last season.
Are you arguing with people? Nah.
Well, it was more a spirited discussion.
Spirited, right? Yes.
It was a spirited discussion in which I posted something and then told everybody else where they were wrong when they disagreed.
That's spirited, right? Yes.
But she got the most goals from open play as a midfielder, and nobody mentioned her. Like,
no, not him.
Even the people who are paid to be experts on women's football don't mention her on the podcast. It's all oh, Liverpool, they're a very workmanlike team. They're a bloody skillful team. They just maybe lack that 15-goal striker who are so rare in women's football in the WSL, because most of them have been snapped up by Chelsea and Man City. But
yeah, Rosie.
Just the way she got back then.
We need to clip that.
1 hour and 5
What are you
minutes.
saying about my team?
1 hour and 5 minutes, Sam. That is a hashtag Rosie reaction. Protect the meerkat. Just woof. Like
that's brilliant. But yeah, like Liverpool have got so many players who are so underrated, but you watch their work rate, you watch their creativity, and you're like, why is no one talking about them apart from us? Like, why not?
They weren't even. I think there was a thing on the official WSL media guide. Liverpool weren't even on it. It was all London teams.
Oh.
And that's where you look at it and go, really? But yeah, Liverpool. If Liverpool had signed Liz Turland in the summer, they would be top 3. I'm confident enough to say that. Or an equivalent.
That would have been a good signing. Turland for Liverpool.
Or an equivalent of Liz Turland. The Liz Turland equivalent.
Yeah.
Which is now going to become a thing on the podcast. Just when a team doesn't have a striker, it's like if they signed the Liz Turland equivalent.
Yeah. Our Liz. Yeah.
But our Liz, which we're unprofessionally calling her award-nominated comment podcast. Don't call Elizabeth Turland Liz, apparently. But no, just I worry it's going to be Liverpool's Achilles heel. Because Cornelia Kapoc is good. Sophie Roman Haug is good. But they're both, Russo's 10 goal a season strikers. And you're not going to win anything with your spearhead getting 10 goals a season. And unless you've got a team full of hoping just behind them. And so maybe in January, or maybe Sophie Roman Haug will catch fire. But
yeah,
I think they will be absolutely furious, and West Ham will be looking at that going, we got out of jail there.
Yeah. Like, how did we do that? We've got a point on the board. Well, hey, because we'll look at it again properly. But yeah, with that point, West Ham have gone above Everton. And it's so close down at that bottom end between everyone.
Except for Palace.
Oh, because I've put a -11. Oh, Rosie, your team, what are they doing? How dare they score goals? But like you said, West Ham will be buzzing. They managed to get that point, but Liverpool are just going to be absolutely fuming with that one. Now, Free've got to be disappointed with Villa dropping points. Disappointed, fuming, bloody fuming is the reaction. It was so first home game at Villa Park. It was, this big occasion. I think the attendance, so it ended 2-2, by the way, ended 2-2. That's why I was fuming. I think attendance was on like 2,001. So Villa Park, 2,000-ish. Because like we said against at the beginning of the season when it was announced, there's no other suitable alternatives. So I see why they've moved it to Villa Park, but it just the crowds aren't there yet. They will come because the opportunity is there, but they're just not there yet. But everyone who did turn up in fantastic voice, cheering everyone along. And honestly, we genuinely thought we were going to win. So let's have a look at where it all went wrong. So it was the dramatic draw that Villa fans didn't want. And we thought that we'd left that Villa in the past. We'd seen Villa against Chelsea and gone, oh, we like this team. Let's keep going. Now, there were 9 minutes of extra time added on, right? 9. Don't know where they came from. So if anyone in the chat watched the match, Sophie, I don't know if you want to I was going to say chirp up, but then I was going to say tune in. It came up like a choopy. I don't know. I'm tired. Yeah, so I don't know where the 9 minutes came from, in all honesty. But they conceded in the 96th minute. However, to get to that point, Rachel Daly, her finishing when she's on it is phenomenal. And if that wasn't offside, that would have been the most cracking goal that you've ever seen. The finish was just beautiful. So if you didn't manage to see that, please do go back and do it. It's what we've been missing from her. It's what everyone's expecting. And you just think that would have been fantastic confidence for her in front of goal, which we'll see a little bit later on. Now, some lovely link-up play. I keep going on about Paula Tomas, but she is just phenomenal. Between her, Hansen and Daly, it was brilliant. However, there was a penalty, and it was a bit controversial. I don't know if anyone saw the shout. So Tomas goes for the ball against Drew Spence, and she dives and goes down in the box and gets the penalty. So they go level, annoyingly. However, we get some fresh legs because Dree Adriana Leon did not start. That was quite a surprise for us. But as soon as her and Katie Robinson came on, injected some more life into the pitch, and she had a lovely shot, a lovely finish for the equaliser. Because Spurs, that was their first goal. This was the equaliser. Rachel Daly then does what she does best. Now, Becky Spencer had come out to meet the ball, just mistimed it. And Rachel Daly heads it in, lovely over the keeper, in the 88th minute, right? So 2-1 up in the 88th minute, thinking, have we got this? Like, is this Villa's chance to get 3 points? And then Beth England, you might know her, scores a few goals now and again. She came on and nods her goal in the 96th minute. And a lot of the social media was saying, oh, it's a point on the board. And it is, that's great. But why did they have to concede right at the end? And it was pretty much an open goal. The ball had been cleared out of the box. So everyone had started to move back. And then the ball came straight back in and headed it in. So there's no one to really stop it. However, stats-wise, if you want to talk about missed chances, guess how many shots Villa had against Spurs? 19 shots they had, compared to Spurs' 4, right? 4. 6 were on target compared to Spurs' 2. Possession 53-47, more passes, better pass accuracy, more fouls. But you just think all of it's there. And yes, there's been a new manager and new everything. So it'll take a bit of time. That's fine. And it was a point, but it was just so frustrating right at the end to concede. And I will say, apparently on the Women's Football Show, they got 2 players mixed up. And they said Maz Pacheco gave the foul away when she wasn't even on the pitch. And it was Paula Tomas, which I don't understand how you can physically get those 2 mixed up because they're different numbers and look completely different. So that was my red card commentary bias of the week, that mix-up shouldn't happen. But yeah, 2-2, a point's better than nothing. But yeah, it kind of put a bit of a dampener on that weekend there. But I will just say tonight, this is the most best Scott thing you probably ever heard. There were 413 there tonight for the match. And Sabs had to ask the fans how long was left of the game because the screens weren't working. So they didn't have a clue what was going on. I don't know what you're talking about, Matthew. I think I'm quite chilled. I'm quite relaxed. I'm quite level-headed about that one. But at least they won tonight. A bit more confidence back, so going into the weekend. Hopefully against, I'll say that, or against Brighton. It can only do good things. So let's have a look at the table. We've still got Chelsea in the lead. Rosie's not here. Leading on 6 points, same as Man United. Now, look at that top 5. Chelsea, United, Spurs, Arsenal, City. I mean, look at that. Is Rosie okay? I just saw the camera have a bit of a...
She was... Oh, I'm mute. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, we're professional tonight, aren't we? I'm sat there thinking I'm muted because I was eating and now I had them muted. Right. Yeah, she's there.
Yeah, she's there. She's still there.
We didn't even mention the Chelsea Man United postponement, did we? Which again isn't...
Well, we're gonna do it now. Yeah, absolutely. So with Champions League, again, people have probably seen it, but because there was only going to be 2 days between the Chelsea WSL match and the one for Champions League, they decided to postpone the game. Now, fans, of course, it had already sold out because it was at Kingsmeadow, and booked transport, booked accommodation, because obviously trying to get back from Manchester to Chelsea, not the easiest, you know what I mean, other way around. It's not the easiest thing to do for that. Rosie, are you quite happy that's being postponed? Player welfare?
Yeah. Well, sorry, I was just making myself a hot chocolate, but we've got no milk.
Oh.
Not happy about that. Anyway.
all the big stories on the Absolute Football Podcast.
Who drank my milk? Right. From a player welfare perspective, obviously 100% happy it's been postponed. But the fact that it didn't happen sooner makes me angry. And the fact that I did a Stamford Bridge Stadium tour on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that was when the news came out. But before the tour, we'd asked the guide, and he said, yeah, everyone says it's been moved to the Saturday. So even the day it was postponed, people within the club thought it was going to move to the Saturday. So it's just that feeling of no one knew what was going on, and it was so last minute. It was just like, oh, you couldn't have done that sooner.
And that's the thing, so everyone saying, well, they've been announced for, I think, about a year. Was it written in the UEFA kind of guidelines, things like that? So
yeah. So it was always either Arsenal, City or Chelsea were going to be playing on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
So WSL, don't know if it's possible, but can we have Arsenal, City on Tuesday playing on Saturday, not Sunday? Just to avoid that? Like, even though Arsenal City hadn't qualified yet, it was always going to be a possibility that one of those 3 teams was going to be playing on the Tuesday. Yeah. So it's just, to me, it seems so simple. Maybe I'm being naive. But however, I don't know. It's just because I live quite close to Kingsmeadow, I kind of got lucky and I didn't have any travel arranged. Yeah. But the people travelling from Manchester or even Chelsea fans who come from quite far out, it's not on.
No, it's a lot. And especially when things do get cancelled and rearranged, and like there's no kind of thought to how many fans have committed to travel, because obviously being a sold out Kingsmeadow as well, you know, it's a massive thing. So but then the broadcasters can't put the big 3 in the Sunday broadcast spot. True, yeah. They'll have to give it to one of the other peasants that are in the WSL in that one. So yeah, Paul, quick one. What do you think would have been the best thing to do?
I think if you're going to play it, you have to play it on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Because there are people travelling. You know, I saw a comment about one person who had travelled from Singapore to watch this game.
Oh God.
You know, and with 10 days notice to be told, oh, actually, we're going to postpone it.
Yeah.
Like the reason is solid. Player welfare reason is solid. But the one that I kind of don't get is whenever clubs are challenged on stacking up on squads, you know, because Chelsea squad is the envy of most of Europe. Manchester United squad is the envy of most of Manchester. But, well, it's envy of half of Manchester, maybe. The ones who support Salford, I don't know. Like, but either way, ruin that metaphor. But anyway, isn't the whole point of a massive squad to be able to deal with fixture congestion? Like Chelsea could field 2 completely different lineups in the Champions League against Real Madrid and against Manchester United and win both. Like, so the player welfare argument, especially from teams who've buggered off to Australia during the summer for meaningless friendlies, doesn't wash with me as much as perhaps it should, because it's an argument that's used when convenient. And the main problem is the UWCL is an absolute clusterfuck of a competition. If they're taking 10 days for supposedly the premier football club competition,
10-day
in
turnaround.
the world, would you say that the Champions League is the premier club competition in the world for?
Yes,
certainly in Europe.
Yeah,
obviously, and probably most of the world. Maybe South America with things like the Copa Libertadores would argue otherwise, but
it's the majority of big teams,
and it's embarrassing that a marquee fixture in one of the best leagues in the world has had to be postponed with a week's notice because of the Champions League. It would never happen in the men's game, and so it needs to be. The scheduling needs to be looked at, and it needs to be around and say, right, okay, if we have to have all 3 teams play on a Wednesday, we have to have all 3 teams play on a Wednesday. If that is the only way to make it work, then we'll move Chelsea Real Madrid to Wednesday.
Yeah, because you think that one would be the one that could be moved rather than the other way around. It's
it's not like they're playing at the Bernabeu, are they? And all the flights are booked, so it just means they have the day off is in Madrid, not in Cobble. Which, let's face it,
I think the Champions League, UEFA basically just said, we're not moving it because we released our dates about a year ago. It's your fault. Which I kind of get, but they could have maybe compromised a bit there. I don't really know. And also, just on player welfare, even though Chelsea do have a big squad, all of your squad, so the starting 11 and substitutes, are going to have to travel. They're going to have to mentally prepare. They're going to have to warm up. They're still in the squad. Even though Chelsea could potentially field different teams, it's just about that being prepared. And also, they don't have to field 2 different teams. Like, why should it come up to the club? Why is that Chelsea's fault that they've been scheduled fixtures on like 56 hours apart? That's not the club's fault. That's UEFA, that's WSL. So even though they potentially could, there are so many injuries. And even just travelling to Madrid after you've been involved in a squad the day before, that could be damaging.
I mean, I would challenge that by saying my own Coventry City had to play an FA Cup semi-final and then a vital EFL Championship promotion chase game within 56 hours of each other because neither of them could be moved. But so if the men can do it, is the problem that the men's game is crap and should not be followed as a template, and therefore we can praise the women for doing this, or is the argument the one that is always brought out in bad faith when you're talking about things like criticism or you're talking about things like investment, which is if women's football wants to be taken seriously, then should it face the same challenges as the men?
I would say the exact opposite. And I'd say that the women's game is behind the men's game. And because the men have been dealing with these things, and the men just generally have a more congested schedule, they're used to it. And I know that's not really an argument, but
is it right? But
their bodies have adapted to this. but women are fundamentally and biologically different, and they're not used to playing games 56 hours apart. And something like that is why we're having ACL injuries, and it's why they're more prominent in the women's game, because women's bodies are just not as able to deal with these congested calendars because they've not been around. And it's when, like, I don't know, obviously Chelsea have been in the Champions League for ages, but it's not really happened like this where, you know, you're playing a WSL match and now on Tuesday you're playing the Champions League, because that shouldn't have to happen, and that's not happened before. So to protect the players, maybe there is a point in the future where we can play games 2 days apart, but that point isn't now, and it shouldn't have to be now.
Yeah, fair play. In the said ones that we moved to? Yeah.
No.
Gonna be later.
And I've got a ticket for that game and I've not been emailed at all.
Oh, really?
Which is bad.
That's bad.
It'll be a Wednesday night in a 3-game week, and then everybody will complain that there were those 3 games too close together.
Probably.
Well,
yeah,
what really annoyed me about the whole thing, the thing that really annoyed me the most, is women's football fandom showing its arse, in the sense that there were certain clubs so desperate to be oppressed, so desperate to feel like they're being treated unfairly, taken advantage of. And one of them is the number of fans of a certain football club who saw this happen, and their argument was, well, do the same for the other 2 clubs in the Champions League. And it was mostly the club that Rosie doesn't like.
I don't like either of them.
But okay, the one you like even less, the one that's nearer you. But yeah,
it was very this. Chelsea get a special treat, but so should we.
It's like,
no, that's not the issue.
because if you were playing on Tuesday, yes, you probably would have got special treatment, but you're not. So suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, it's like there isn't an issue. Stop making one. Like this is for the players. Like,
it's not about you.
Yeah.
Not everything is about Arsenal, even though the media try and make it so. It's not. Like,
no, you're right. And on a similar note, Villa were once picked for the TV, this match, and it got changed from a Sunday to a Friday, and loads of people couldn't go.
Was that the infamous Stina Blackstenius was offside, but it doesn't matter game?
No, that was the Arsenal match. That was a Sunday afternoon, I believe. I think. But yeah, I can't remember. Sophie, can you remember which one it was? But yeah, it got moved to a Friday night, and everyone was like, I can't go. I'm at work. Like, I've changed all my shifts. I've done everything. And that was within 4 days, I think. That was changed because of the TV pick. It wasn't long at all. But did anyone talk about it? No, because it was Villa. So again, it's frustrating, but I think it was maybe against Chelsea. Oh, Rosie, it was your fault. But yeah, it does depend on, I mean, I'm glad they're moving it for the player welfare. But you could guarantee if it was other teams, it wouldn't have got as much attention, would it? Just because of who they are.
If it wasn't a Champions League, if it was 2 WSL games, it wouldn't have got anywhere near the attention. It's just like, oh well.
No, not at all.
Incidentally, Villa men have beaten Bayern Munich.
Have they?
In their first ever game in the Champions League.
Ah.
They've won 1-0.
1-0. See, 1-0's all round. 1-0's all around for this one. Right, okay. So that match is postponed at the weekend, but we've got some really good ones coming up. So on Saturday, Villa travel down to Brighton, which should be a very, very good one. Every time we've met them, it's been an incredibly tight match. So I doubt Saturday's going to be any different. Man City, West Ham, that's going to be a good one. Arsenal, Everton. Everton are holding pull themselves together. Spurs, Liverpool, and Leicester City, Crystal Palace for that one. So instead of doing predictions, Paul, is there any one of those that you're particularly looking forward to?
Brighton Villa. Well, Brighton Villa and Spurs Liverpool. Again, they're the Leicester City Palace. If you're more cynical, you like relegation dogfights. That's an early season one. If you like Blood and Thunder, if you're old school, putting it in the mixer, and Rosie managing under 19s, and that kind of type of philosophy. But I think that Spurs Liverpool for me, because you've mentioned Brighton Villa, Spurs Liverpool.
I think so. Rosie, with your beloved Chelsea not playing this weekend, anyone that you think might be a good one to watch?
I don't want to agree with Paul, but Spurs Liverpool.
Because it's an awful thing to do, isn't it? To agree
it really is. Can't be seen agreeing with Paul. I think Arsenal, Everton might have something for us there. I don't know. Even though Everton are Everton and have been plagued with injuries, Arsenal are still Arsenal. Just felt so all over myself.
Wouldn't it be incredible if Everton won, though?
Well, exactly.
Or if
it's the sort of game
that got a point for them.
Because Arsenal dropped silly points, and it's the sort of game they would drop silly points from.
I'm all for it. Any Everton players and Brian Sorensen listening right now, we're all behind you.
Do you know what? I probably wouldn't sacrifice a kidney because kidneys don't grow back, but your liver grows back. So I would sacrifice like 95% of my liver to see Everton win that game. Genuinely.
You heard it here first, folks. 1 hour 30. We'll clip that one up as well. Paul is sacrificing his liver for this one. But no, it'd be such a good one. Now, because we've talked about so much, because that's what we do as an award-nominated podcast. We cover everything. We're probably going to have to set ourselves time limits for the championship games, which is a shame because we bloody love the championship. So if you're not watching the championship, why not? It's the best league in the world. So yeah, we had some interesting results this weekend. I mean, I'm buzzing about the last one, and I'll talk about it in a minute. Some interesting score lines, but we're going to start with who we're going to start with. Rosie, we'll come to you first. We'll do the top one. Blackburn 0, Charlton 2. Now, we all kind of said, right, Charlton have performed so well. They're probably going to win it, and they did pretty convincingly. So what did you make of this one, please, Rosie?
It was kind of just a clean-cut win from Charlton. Both goals were in the first half. They went in quite strong, and then, Charlton only had 2 shots in the whole game. I don't know if I believe that, but that's what 2 shots on target, right? I can't write. And both of them went in, so you can say something about Blackburn there. But
well, that's why they scored 2 goals and both went in. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. I think there's not much to say really. I think it was quite dominant. Yeah. 68% possession.
2 on target.
Charlton.
Yeah. Oh, poor Blackburn. 2 shots. None on target. Just had a little poor Blackburn. But yeah, another Charlton, that's what they need to do, isn't it? Just keep winning, keep getting their goal difference up, and completely going for it. Yeah. Perfect. Hey, time limits. We love them. Paul, we're going to come back to Durham last because I don't think anyone saw that one coming. So, Paul, we will come to you for Portsmouth 0, Newcastle 2. Unfortunately, another convincing win for the Magpies there. What did you make of this one?
I'm starting to fear for Portsmouth.
Me too.
Already. Because they...
Not that I want to look at the goal difference, but...
They work really, really, really hard, and they are a lovely story.
Yeah.
But you can see the difference between a team that have come up and are trying to build sustainably and a team built backed by an autocratic regime that's desperately trying to cover up that it's killing journalists. Because...
I love that you just slip that in really quickly, like how...
Maybe don't clip that bit, Sam. But we all know. Sports Watch FC. I mean, if you want to talk about stats, away from home, Newcastle outshot Portsmouth 20-4, and 12 of them were on target.
Dear me.
For some reason, the Yahoo stats have neither of them making passes, like zero passes. So obviously, it was just shots.
Championship games, they have that. It's just 0 passes, and it's really annoying.
Yeah, they just don't have the proper stats.
Yeah,
but
16-10 shots.
But it's when you look at it and you compare the lineups, and you've got Shania Hales, Alicia Body, Beth Lumsden, Amber Stobbs. They've all got WSL experience, championship experience.
Yeah.
Demi Stokes, Rachel Furness, Lois Joel, Claudia Moen. And with all due respect to the Portsmouth lineup, I think they had 3 that you could consider as legit championship experienced players.
Yeah.
4 if you count Sophie Barker, but they're up against players who are internationals. And I hope that Portsmouth are having all of the growing pains in the first few weeks, but worryingly at the moment, we've talked a lot about the way the fixture list has worked out, and they're not playing on the final weekend. It might be academic. If this keeps happening, they might be down way before then, and it would be really, really sad, because they've built the right way. They haven't just taken a despotic government's money, and what message does that send? I suppose if a club that's built the right way and has come up gets absolutely tanked.
They've done it properly, yeah. So
the same thing that happened with Lewis as well. But we need to start considering, perhaps women's football as a whole needs to start considering what message is being sent by, rather than, and we could probably do a whole podcast on the discussion of the uncomfortable juxtaposition. See, award-nominated podcast, we do big words. Between a team like Newcastle United being fated for their progress and improving the women's game and what the women's game is supposed to stand for, but on the pitch there was very little comparison between them, and that's sad.
Yeah. Because you think, both promoted, both going for it, so there should be some sort of parity somewhere, but no. Portsmouth, I really hope, again, this transfer window, kind of the powers that be, go, okay, we need more than we thought we did. Let's try and get something and have a good fight, second half season fight. But yeah, I really hope they're not in trouble. But unfortunately, it does look like it, with that goal difference. So yeah, that was a sad one. That one, for 2-0 against them. And as we said, they're, what did we say, -12 their goal difference at the minute. So yeah, so they need to get their shooting boots on to get back into it. Now I'm gonna talk about Sunderland next, actually. So Sunderland won. First 3 points on the board, absolutely buzzing for them. And they won 1-0 against London City Lionesses. Now, Sunderland's start to the season wasn't great, if anyone's been watching. And kind of came into this one thinking, and everyone said, I don't think Sunderland are going to win this one, considering both sets of performances. But I was doing press for this one, and watching it the first half, not much in it. They both had all right chances, nothing really to trouble the keepers. And I don't know what Mel Ray said to Sunderland at half-time, but they came out and they looked like the Sunderland of last season. Those glimpses of that attack, that cohesion, that just everything that we loved about their fire last season was back. And you just thought, right, okay, game on now. And I think because London City must have gone into that thinking, they'll be an easy walkover. They've lost 5-0, 3-0, whatever. It'll be easy. And the fact it wasn't, you could see how frustrated they were. And like Cheney Boy Lorca was fuming. Aslani was fuming as well. Her shot, I genuinely thought she was going to equalise. It hit again. Don't know if anyone saw it. She crossed it in, and instead of going off the post and in, it went off the post and ricocheted back out again. And her head just fell in her hands, and she was like, how did that not go in? How have I not got the back of the net? And that frustration was setting in, and they just couldn't find anything. They couldn't find the breakthrough. Sunderland nearly could have gone 2-0 up. They did get a penalty. I think it was in the 92nd minute, I think. But it was well saved by Emily Orman in that case. But yeah, such a brilliant second half performance, and they should be incredibly proud of themselves. I will say, Demi Lambourne, she didn't feel settled the first couple of matches, but that match was the best I've seen her, and that was kind of the Lambourne we thought was going to come into Sunderland that we saw in the WSL last season. And so I just think that week off has come at the right time, and they've been able to kind of rest, reset, and think, right, okay, where were we last season? How can we get better? What can we do? And they just came out fighting in that second half. So yeah, proper proud of them. And first 3 points on the board. So very, very impressed indeed. Rosie, I'm going to come back to you for Southampton, I believe. Southampton 2, Sheffield United 0. So take us through this one, please, Rosie. How was Southampton dominant in their win?
Yeah, I mean, it should have been a much higher scoreline. Southampton were so dominant. Both of the goals came in the second half, but I don't know how it took them that long to score because they just came off and, yeah, they played really, really well. Sheffield forgot their boots. I don't know, they just didn't really show up. Allegedly, according to Google Stats, who are obviously a bit dumb, Sheffield United had one shot in the whole game. But it was actually quite a good shot, that's the thing. Like, they came off the counter and it was, yeah, but it was off target anyway. Oh. Sorry, it wasn't a good shot, it was a good counter-attack. I should clarify.
That one moment when they had something, it was
yeah. It was all right. But Southampton, yeah, it should have been way higher.
Yeah. Freya Gregory getting on the score sheets. I don't know why Villa let her go again. She's brilliant. She should stay. But I'm glad she's getting the time. And the goals for Southampton. Yeah. But yeah, again, another very convincing win for there. Yeah, Matthew, just seen your comment there. Despite splashing the cash, London City couldn't get the job done on a cold Sunday afternoon in Sunderland. This is women's football heritage. Yes. Hey, Appleton's not an easy ground to come to. With that one, I did have to laugh though. I got me dad a ticket, and then I went in as press, and but they had the company down wrong, so then they couldn't find us. They just went, "Oh, have you brought anyone else with you?" I was like, "Oh, I could have brought me dad it." Oh, well, now I know for the future. Thanks very much. But yeah, there was 400 or 512 people there, so a decent turnout for that one on a cold Sunday afternoon to see the win. So it's good. Right, thank you for that, Rosie. And last one, hey, look at us flying through. Paul, I'm going to come to you because as Sunderland were playing, this game was on as well, and everyone was like, Durham are beating Birmingham City 1-0. What is happening? So yeah, Paul, what on earth happened to Birmingham?
They were Durhamed, basically. They got Maiden castled.
Oh, I love that.
Because Durham at home just know how to play the conditions and the pitch.
Yeah. And
they have a fanatical home support as well. You know. And we always say that Durham is a tough place to go. You know, it's almost one of those kind of stereotypical women's football phrases. But it really was. Birmingham were just knocked off their game. That's what it was. Durham did what Durham do, which is turn up, shithouse, break up rhythm, and disrupt.
Yeah.
And Birmingham, we said this was the first big test for Birmingham, and they failed it because Durham are a known quantity, and they know what they do. I mean, the stats wise, it was actually a pretty close game, equal on shots, 6 each. Birmingham actually had more shots on target through less possession. Birmingham actually fouled more than Durham, which will certainly surprise Crystal Palace fans. But I mean, Lily Crossway there's just a talent factory up there in the Northeast in general, but Durham seemed to be the hidden talent factory. I'm aware of
it works.
I mean, has she seen the pad? I'm just going to go on my neck here. Anyway, yeah. If you know, you know, Sophie. But I did say Durham. I will say 2 sentences in future because even though it's after dark, you know, we've got Rosie here who is lovely and uncorrupted, as it were. So we don't want to start throwing stuff like that around. That was a face. I'm genuinely flustered by that. Like Sophie just randomly chucking 50 Shades of Grey and all sorts of stuff into the chat. Kinky football. There you go.
Kinky football boots. There you go.
Hashtag kinky. Yes. Hashtag kinky football boots. Yes. Makes dominant in possession a whole new thing, doesn't it?
Totally.
Bringing on a sub is a whole new thing. Anyway.
Oh gosh.
I bet there's people in the chat going, "What are they talking about?" Sam, don't clip this bit. We'll get in trouble.
Move on.
But
Just move on, Paul.
Blame Sophie. But anyway, Durham were very much the kind of team who were dominant and did force Birmingham into submission and just kind of kept going. And Lily Crossthwaite's finish was a beauty, like a proper run and strike. She is like Poppy Pritchard because she came out that same kind of talent system at around about the same time as Poppy Pritchard. So she is one to watch, I think. She's going to give commentators fits on how to pronounce her name because it took me about 4 Durham games before I managed to pronounce her name properly. But she's going to be a name that we say a lot, I think. And
yeah, I hope so.
I think Birmingham are just looking at it going, how did we lose that? And Durham are sending message after message now. You know, we're sat there going, we fear for them. We think they're going to be down near the bottom. They're pulling out those results, and it's.
I know, yeah. It just makes you think, how wrong were we? Because Durham is second.
Yeah.
They have 9 points. Like, you just think, how is this Durham the same Durham of last season that just escaped relegation? Like, what is going on? But hey, it's working for them, whatever they're doing. But yeah, Charlton are up there on 12 points, followed by Durham, followed by Birmingham. And again, 7, 7, 7, 7. We've got 4 teams battling it out on 7 points. For that one. Is that 4? Oh, my eyes are gone now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4. We're good. 4 battling out on 7th. So yeah, I think it's just going to be another tight year, isn't it? For this league, and that's what we can't wait for. Now, having a look at those fixtures again, we won't do predictions, but are there any fixtures in particular that we're looking forward to this weekend? Rosie, anything looking forward to there, or that I think could be interesting?
Ooh, sorry, just dropped my phone. Yeah, Interesting. I think Charlton, Sunderland.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Charlton are top.
Yeah, thanks.
Are they going to keep that?
Hey, Sunderland have found the feet now.
Yeah.
I think if Sunderland can get a point against Charlton, I think that's going to be, confidence-wise, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, it could turn it around for them.
Yeah, but we can't take anything away from Charlton, can we? They've been so on it this season already. Paul, anything for you that looks interesting?
I'm looking at the other Tyne-Wear derby. I don't know how do you, because obviously it's the Wearside derby for Durham versus Sunderland. It's the Tyne-Wear derby for Newcastle versus Sunderland. So what is Newcastle Durham?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because if you call it the Tyne-Wear derby, is it like the Tyne-Wear derby bought on Wish? Like, or is that it's a bit long for it? But I suppose you could go. Does Newcastle have a cathedral?
Don't think so.
Does it have an airport? Does Durham have an airport? Durham has an airport. Because you could call it the Battle of the Airport.
Durham does have an airport. Yeah, we flew. Again, a story that no one's interested in. Went to Barcelona with the school, and we flew from Durham, and
there you go. It's
no one uses that as an airport because it's tiny. It's
the airport derby.
The airport derby.
It's the airport derby. Town versus Gown.
Tyne-Wear. Durham Newcastle derby. Yeah, Tyne-Wear.
We'll call it the airport derby. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll stick with the airport. Yeah,
stick with the airport derby.
That's better.
Copyright the award-nominated awards. Absolute women's football. Yeah, I think that with local derbyness and with Durham with the point to prove, especially with Newcastle being the rich, noisy neighbours, if you like, to use a football phrase with history. I'm looking forward to that. I think Durham could put Newcastle in their place a bit with that one, and I think it would show them almost, because you've got that battle. You've always got that miniature battle for supremacy in the northeast. You know, that absolute tribal battle, and I think it's always been, or for the vast majority of the time in women's football, it's been Durham v Sunderland because Newcastle were just an irrelevance. Yeah. And now Newcastle are the new kids on the block and have been coming up. And I think that this will be seen in the blue part of Wearside. There you go. That's what we can.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go. This will be seen in the blue part of Wearside as an opportunity to reassert themselves a bit, because everyone's kind of forgotten about them.
Time to make a statement.
And to make a proper statement.
Yeah.
And I think they'll do it. And I think it'll be, I mean, let's face it, Sunderland fans will love it, because there's a whole bunch of Sunderland fans who are kind of Durham fans as well.
In that case, absolutely will be.
You know, there's a rivalry, but it's a friendly rivalry. I get the impression between Sunderland and Durham.
There's still a bit of a dislike there, but yeah, nothing compared to Newcastle. Which I will say, the week after is the Sunderland Newcastle derby at the Stadium of Light, and I cannot wait for that one. I will be there for that. Because again, first time it's happened. So yeah, I can't wait to talk about that next week. But yeah, again, if you're not watching the Championship, you need to, because that's where the magic is happening. And we'll leave it there for that one. Now, before we go, I know most of you will follow, like, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do already. But if you haven't, remember, you can follow. Look at our lovely faces. I absolutely love those illustrations. They're brilliant. Come and join us all across socials. So on Twitter, we are at Absolute Ball Pod. On YouTube, where most of you are watching us now, hello, at Absolute Football Podcast, and the same for Twitch. On TikTok, we are at Absolute Football Pod, and same for on Instagram and Threads, just add an underscore at the end. And on Facebook, the Absolute Football Podcast. And remember, it's not just us on a Wednesday talking women's football, it's Premier League on a Monday and Lower League it's on a Thursday. Sorry, Sam, I put the wrong slide up again. That still says Friday. But it's Thursday. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That's where you can find us. And we've mentioned it a couple of times, but if you haven't voted for us yet in the Football Content Awards, we would absolutely love you to do so. We are nominated for three different awards: the Best in Women's Football, Best New Content Creator, and Best in Lower League, non-league, should I say, sorry, as well. So if you got 30 seconds to do that, we'd really, really appreciate it. So thank you both for joining me this evening. Rosie, if people would like to find more of your Chelsea life and your future signings, where can they find you?
Sorry, I'm actually dozing off. It's nearly my bedtime. You can find me at Rosie Dawson _14 on Twitter and Rosie Dawson.14 on TikTok and Instagram. I say it every week, but I always forget.
She'll pop up. Just search for Rosie. You'll find out if you want to.
I'm everywhere.
She'll be around. Yeah, she's very famous on the Twitter spheres.
Just whisper Kent at Kings Meadow and she'll appear.
Yeah, I'll turn around.
Please do. It makes us happy. And Paul, where can people find more of your rantings and ravings?
You can find me. There you go. There's the right hand.
Hey.
At Paul W Radio, where I promise I'm less confused and less likely to randomly take diversions into slightly after dark topics. That is the most flustered I've ever been, Sophie. Thank you for that one. But yeah, so that's where you can find me if you want to find out why Arsenal fans hate me so much.
And it's quite fun. We didn't talk about our favourite service stations this week. Feel like we're letting everyone down. So next week can be a bumper edition of favourite services. You've got a week, right, to get your favourite services all together.
Right.
Always today.
Going on next week. We'll get 2 weeks then.
Yeah, there's a nice one in Kent. Just go down the road and there's a Graham will tell you.
Clacket Lane,
right.
apparently.
Yeah, Clacket Lane. And if you want to find more of me, I'm at T for It Here Writes, TikTok, Instagram, wherever you can find me. And we've got a brand new Villa pod. I'm just going to do a plug called Part of the Pride, which starts live tomorrow night as well. So if you want more Villa women, come and join us there as well. So thank you very, very much, everyone. Thank you for watching, listening, and we'll see you again next week.